ルフィ、海賊王になる男だ。
なぜ止める？
実力で言えばお前は俺の遥か格下。
お前は
ルフィ、海賊王になる男だ。
Welcome back, guys. AnimeScale here, and today we have Luffy compared to all the villains he had faced after the time skip. If you like what I do, please consider subscribing and turn on the notification bell to never miss an upload. So let's get started.
お前は必ずぶっ飛ばす!
The first opponent Luffy faced after the time skip was a pacifista. And unlike the last time when it took a combined effort of the whole crew to defeat the cyborg, this time Luffy easily dodges the laser beams with Perception Haki and defeats it with a single punch. It's crazy when you think about it, but yeah, this wasn't even a warm-up for Luffy. Now, Fishman Islands, the main villain of this arc is Hody Jones, and he was nothing too crazy in his base form. As a matter of fact, Zoro defeated him underwater when the fisherman had a huge advantage. To fill the strength gap, Hody took several energy steroids. One of these pills greatly enhances the strength of the user twofold. Therefore, a fisherman's strength will become 20 times that of an average human. And remember that the multiplier is cumulative, so 2 pills will make it fourfold. And each additional intake will continue to increase the strength exponentially. After taking an unspecified amount of energy steroids, Hody became bigger, more muscular, and God knows how many times stronger than in his base form. In this form, Hody managed to bite Luffy and make him bleed, but a Red Hawk and an Elephant Gatling were more than enough to defeat him. Caesar Clown, we talked about this guy in the last video. His Logia Devil Fruit turned him into poisonous gas. But after the events of Impel Down, Luffy is immune to it. However, Caesar is the first villain that, after the time skip, manages to get a win against Luffy. And he did it by removing the oxygen from the area they were fighting, making Luffy faint. In the rematch, Luffy found a way to counter this and other abilities, forcing Caesar to use his trump card and absorb the chemical weapon Shinokuni, becoming capable of petrifying any living being upon contact. However, Luffy's physical strength was too much for Caesar, who got defeated by a well-charged Grizzly Magnum. Armament Haki in this case was key for both offense and defense, since the gas entered in contact with the Haki layer and not directly with Luffy's skin. Yes, Luffy gets stronger arc after arc, and in the arena of Dressrosa, he faces a very strong character like Don Chinjao, who seriously wanted to kill him by all means. This old man fought Garp in the past, and even though it seems that Garp low-diffed him at the time, it still proves Don Chinjao's determination and belief in his abilities. To defeat him, Luffy had to use Gear 2nd and 3rd, and the Conqueror's Arky clash between the two still remains one of the best moments in this arc. I believe that Don Chinjao is not that far from a 3rd commander, like Jack, in terms of overall strength. Let me know if you agree in the comments section. The rematch with Bellamy started with Doffy controlling Bellamy's body with his strings against his will. Luffy managed to destroy Doffy's bunshin made of strings and held off Bellamy simultaneously. As you guys remember, Luffy did not want to hurt Bellamy since he considered him a friend. After a few chapters, Bellamy decides to fight Luffy to preserve some of the remaining pride and also to free Luffy from that uncomfortable situation where he had to hurry and help Law fight Doffy. Bellamy lost in the exact same way he did back in Mocktown. However, I want to stress Bellamy's improvements, since the guy managed to learn Armament Haki and seemed to have become better at using his Devil Fruit.
なぜ止める?
There's no need to explain too much here. Base to base, Doffy was stronger than Luffy, in fact not even together with an ally that provided him cheap shots and damaged the opponent's organs. Luffy managed to get the upper hand. In a fair 1v1, Luffy not only wouldn't have had Law's help, but also faced Doffy's bunshin and Doffy at the same time. The strength gap was too big, and in fact, it is during this fight that we see Gear 4th Boundman for the first time. In this form, Luffy's proportions become warped, and his body becomes much larger in size. With his arms, upper torso, and legs coated with Armament Haki, Luffy overpowers Doffy in this form, but unfortunately, he runs out of stamina. That's why I have Doffy above Gear 4th Dressrosa Luffy. Luffy was indeed stronger, but his stamina wasn't enough, and he needed to escape and recover, very similar to Baryon mode against Ishiki. Doffy's awakening was impressive, and I still think that he ranks somewhere between second and first commander of a Yonko. This was more a skirmish than an actual fight. In fact, neither Luffy or Fujitora were serious on that occasion. Fujitora felt no hate in Luffy and felt somewhat guilty about the government allowing Doffy to reign over Dressrosa, destroying thousands of lives and traumatizing thousands of people. In a normal 1v1 scenario, Fujitora would have flawlessly won. At this point, Luffy was not even at the level of a Yonko first mate. Forget about Luffy taking down an admiral at this point in the story. Another guy who kept up with Gear 4 of Luffy is Cracker. It took Luffy 11 hours to defeat Cracker and his biscuit soldiers. Luffy had to use Gear 4 twice, and he also received help from Nami, who softened the biscuit soldiers by creating rain. Luffy was stronger, but still had to deal with the stamina issues he still has in this form. I know some people put Cracker over Doffy, but I don't agree with that. Doffy's Birdcage and Awakening were something different, and it took the entire island with dozens of elite fighters to just try to stop him. Was this even a fight? Luffy enters Gear 4th Bellamy, tries to punch Big Mom, who one-shots him with a single move. This wasn't even a contest. Luffy versus Katakuri was one of the best fights in One Piece history, with the first commander of the Big Mom Pirates being stronger than Luffy in practically everything. Advanced perception haki that allowed him to see up to 6 seconds into the future, armament haki probably stronger than Luffy's, and a devil fruit that's allowed to mimic all of Luffy's attacks, except that Katakuri performed them even better. Luffy had to grow during the fight, learning how to use future sights and use Gear 4th Snakeman for the first time. In this form, Luffy is a bit weaker than in Gear 4th Bellamy, but much faster and unpredictable. A lot of people claim that Katakuri stabbed himself to give Luffy an advantage, but he simply evened the fight since Katakuri pierced Luffy with his trident, only because of Flambe's interference. Luffy barely defeated Katakuri, and I feel like Katakuri had no reason to keep fighting. He didn't consider Luffy as a real enemy. He had no reputation to protect, and his family were in no real danger except from Big Mom herself. Luffy won the fight more under the psychological aspect than the physical one. The first fight against Kaido in Wano Kuri was simply Kaido being drunk and annoyed by Luffy. Sure, Luffy did manage to dodge a couple of Kaido's attacks with Future Sight, but Luffy lost as soon as Kaido went serious. One Thunder Bagua was more than enough to defeat him. After learning Ryo Haki in the Udon prison from Yugoro, Luffy lands some very good hits on Kaido, who was just playing around trying to understand how strong the supernova were. However, Luffy's durability increased a lot from the last fight, considering that Kaido hit Luffy with the same attack multiple times, but Luffy got back up like nothing had happened. During the fight, Luffy learns how to coat his attacks with Conqueror's Haki, achieving a level of power that is very close to the one of a Yonko. However, Kaido defeats him once again, saying that his use of Conqueror's coating was still bad. After being rescued by the Hearth Pirates and eating a lot of food offered by Caribou, Luffy comes back at full stamina while Kaido was being held off by his son Yamato. And here we see how Kaido's stamina is huge compared to Luffy's. Luffy's use of Conqueror's coating has become much better now, and when the two clashed, the sky split just like when Whitebeard and Shanks clashed. After several chapters, Luffy ends up losing once again, this time distracted by the CP0 agent. Luffy seemingly died for a few seconds before finally awakening his Devil Fruit. In Gear 5, Luffy became 100% legitimately a Yonko-level character. He can now turn the environment into rubber, including other individuals. His durability is off the charts, he can turn into a giant, he can grab lightning itself, and his strength allows him to jump rope with the strongest creature alive. As I mentioned before, to me, Kaido is still stronger than Luffy, seeing how many people he had to face during the raid. So this is it, guys. Like the video if you did. Let me know what you think about this comparison in the comments section, and subscribe for more content like this in the future. This is AnimeScale signing out. Bye.
俺はルフィ、海賊王になる男だ。